So welcome back everybody, my name's Andrew and you're watching the Kelley's Country Life. If this is your first time visiting the channel, thanks so much for stopping by. We post weekly videos, so consider subscribing. So I have in my hands here 2 months worth of electric bills. A lot of y'all have been asking, how has the house been performing now that we're moved in and now that it's the heat of summer down here in Florida? So if you're new to the channel, this is our custom built pole barn house. I built the majority of it ourselves. By the way, all the videos are on the channel. I documented the entire process, but there was a couple of things that I did sub out. For example, our spray foam insulation. And I've had a ton of questions about our AC size because it's very small based on the type of insulation that we've done, the house, and now that we're in the heat of summer and just had record highs, how well is everything done? And ultimately, most people are curious about electricity usage and how much does it cost, because at the end of the day, we want to know when you spend more money up front on insulation, the way we've done our AC system, things like that, is it actually going to pay you back? So spoiler alert, the AC is performed flawlessly with the way this house is set up. So I'm about to carry y'all upstairs into the attic, show you our AC system, what we've done, the size of it, because it's extremely small. I'll tell you how we got to that point, show y'all some of the insulation that's actually open and exposed. Obviously everything else is in the wall. Explain what we did there, and then ultimately at the end of this video, let's go over the first 2 electric bills, because again, I know y'all been curious about it. I literally get questions weekly on how's the house performing, how's electricity usage. So let's get into the nuts and bolts of all that, because I have been super excited about these first electric bills to see, is our money that we spent paying us back dividends. So here we are up in our walk-in attic, and excuse the mess, the house is actually still under construction, although we're moved in, but you can see I don't have a door to the loft. We still have to bed out the loft, so there is several things left to do. But the house is fully livable, we have our permit, and we've been living in it a few months now. So it may look like a spaceship's going on behind you because we did a lot with our HVAC system. Also, first thing to note, look at all of this spray foam insulation. This is open cell spray foam. We're down in Florida, hot, humid. You always hear about a house needs to breathe, especially with our humidity. So open cell is by far the most common type of spray foam down here. I know up north, closed cell tends to be more popular. So it's a relatively significant upgrade to spend money on open cell spray foam versus your traditional fiberglass batten type insulation. And most people want to know, are you going to get your money back with this? Well, I can go ahead and tell you, I didn't price out fiberglass insulation because I just knew I didn't want it. I want to go ahead and do the best. I've heard so many people talk really good about this, but I didn't think the house was overall a ridiculous amount of money. We paid about $7,000 to insulate our house. This was through COVID now, so prices were up, although I have heard they've went up again. And go ahead and let you know, our bottom downstairs is 1,500 square feet. We have a 212 square foot open loft, and there is probably 500 to 600 square feet up here of open condition attic. That's the beauty about doing spray foam to the roof. Now your attic is technically under the insulation, so it's a conditioned space now. Our attic stays the same exact temperature as the house, or at least within a couple of degrees, whether we're heating or we're cooling. So the good news is that means all of my pipes, my insulation, and my equipment is in a conditioned space. It's going to last longer. Plus, think about this. When people put traditional HVAC systems up in an attic and the insulation's below them, those attics get 130, 140 degrees. Now your equipment is up there competing with that heat, for example, and it's trying its best to not only cool off the hot pipes, but get cool air into your house. So it's having to fight a lot of different factors. I strongly recommend trying to put your system inside of the conditioned space. And if you're watching this because you're interested in some type of spray foam, chances are your system's going to be in a conditioned space just like ours, and you can really downsize your system. So behind me is a Rudd or a Rheem 2-ton AC. So believe it or not, technically, I don't know how you want to consider the attic space, but it's a load on the system too. Technically, we have a couple thousand or more square feet of conditioned space if you look at the overall volume and counting the upstairs area here. And we're running all this with a 2-ton AC. So how we got to this point, before you can even pull a building permit in our state, you have to do what's called an energy efficiency form. It's a several-page form full of all kinds of engineered calculations, from the direction your house faces, how many windows in our house, what type of windows, what type of doors, what type of insulation you're going to do. It's a whole bunch of calculations. We hired an engineer to actually do that form for us, and at the end they tell you how much heating and cooling capacity you need for your space. Well, ours come back with it was a 2¼ ton AC was the max that we could put. Nobody makes a 2¼ ton. You cannot go over that calculation, so we had to downsize in order to pass our HVAC inspection. I was as nervous as could be. Our last house was actually smaller than this, square footage wise, had a 3½ ton AC in it, and it struggled. But it was a much older home as well. It really needed a 4 or 5 ton AC in it. So to hear that we were going to build a slightly bigger house and go to a 2 ton, I knew spray foam was good. I didn't think it would be that good, and that had me very concerned, like a lot of y'all. So long story short, here we are. We've went through several heat waves, including one that both these electric bills cover. And I'm talking, we had triple-digit temperatures for a while. Actual temperatures, 101, I've seen 104 several days. One day, I even logged 107 degrees actual temp, with the heat index being upwards of 112 to 114. That's about as bad as it gets here, even in Florida. So this is kind of a worst case scenario for the electric bills that I'm going to show you, and that's the kind of scenario I want to show you. Now, I'll go ahead and let you know before we leave up here real quick and go over these figures. Whenever you do this well-sealed of a house, my air changing hour number, ACH number, was as best as a lot of y'all have ever seen. I sealed this house up as good as I possibly could. Then I paid the insulators to come in and spray foam this, as well as caulk every joint behind me, seal the house up as good as it could possibly be. And I had an extremely low turnover number, air changing hour, which means how much air naturally flows in and out of a home. Because spray foam itself is already such a good sealer, if you spray foam a house, you need to understand that you're not going to turn over air as frequently as a leaky home that has fiberglass insulation and everything else. There's nooks and crannies and gaps everywhere in a home. Because this seals it, it doesn't turn the air over. So you wind up with kind of old stagnant air in a home, and your humidity levels, you really have to watch those. So as part of this basic package system, we zoned out the house, so we have an extra thermostat in the bedroom that also looks at humidity, and we have a main one for the house. That's why we have all these extra trunk lines with electronic dampeners. If you want to know more about this system, I already have a video on it. But the most important thing is we did a Honeywell Dehumidifier. It's a whole house dehumidification system. And I'll go ahead and let you know, it doesn't hardly ever run at all during the summer, because your AC runs so much, it naturally dehumidifies the air. That's why you always have a drain tube outside dripping away. Our humidity stays quite low in the summer, but in the springtime and in the fall, because this house is insulated so well, this hardly ever runs. Our AC never runs. Actually, I've tracked it. I went 16 days this past spring before my HVAC system ever kicked on. That sounds good, right? Sounds like you're really saving some money. The problem is, didn't turn over fresh air in here, and I didn't control the humidity without my whole house dehumidifier. That's when it kicks in, kicks on, pulls in fresh air from outside, sends air out, and dehumidifies it. Because whenever you insulate a home this well, if you let your humidity levels get up, well, not only does that affect furniture and wood and everything else in your house, but it's a breeding ground for molds and mildews, something you definitely don't want. So if you're going to spend the extra money on good insulation, you need to go ahead and factor in a few thousand extra for a whole house dehumidifier and do a fresh air intake into your system. So I don't really have the house all cleaned up for a tour. By the way, there's several of those tours on the channel itself, but a brief look. There's bedrooms behind me, big walk-in closets, utility, bathroom, 1.5 bathrooms, and then you come out into this big great room here. We have large open ceilings. That's a 200 square foot loft that's going to become my office. We're about to build that out on the channel here in a couple months too. Stairs are going to come down, but you can get a general idea of this house. But you have to calculate all that space in too, because it is actual conditioned space. Now the overall house is 2,800 square feet. You can see we have massive back porches, just what we wanted for this beautiful view. Building an outdoor kitchen. So none of that has to do with this particular video, just letting y'all know the overall size of the house, and we have a 70-foot long porch on this side as well. Okay, so let's get to the energy usage, electricity usage, and the price. Now I'll go ahead and let y'all know, we live in a very low income part of the country here in North Florida, just kind of out in the middle of nowhere. And because household income here is so low, well, typically things cost a lot less here. It's just the way it works around the country. You move out to California or New York to where incomes are extremely high, well, guess what? energy's higher, all kinds of things, just goods in general cost more. It's kind of the way things tend to work in the world. So I'm gonna give you what I paid for electricity as well as my kilowatt hour usage so you can compare it to whatever your electric bill may be. So if we look back last month, from the middle of May to the middle of June, a full month's worth of usage, this house used 815 kilowatt hours. That's it. People have been constantly telling me that, they break 2,000 kilowatt hours usage in their home. Now they're probably running bigger homes, but they're probably running leakier homes, massive AC units. So you can already see this installation's paying me back. So that full month of usage, 815 kilowatt hours at 0.114, I pay 0.114, so almost 11.5 cents there per kilowatt hour. My total was $92.91 is what I paid for electricity in this house. Now, once you add in all the facility fees and maintenance fees and all this other stuff that I can't half understand, my electric bill for that month was $119. That's awesome. That was through a pretty hot month, but the following month, it got the record temperatures and really spilled over. So from the middle of June to the middle of July, through that record heat wave, I only went up from 815 kilowatt hours to 866 kilowatt hours. This is probably, I'm guessing, gonna be my highest bill for the entire year. So total electricity charge for me for this last month, with all those triple digit days, $98.72. And again, if you add in all the taxes and fees and facility charges and everything else, yeah, it comes to $129 was the grand total for my electric bill. Seeing what I'm seeing here, I can just about guarantee you from, say, September, for sure October, through probably May of every year, April, May, I'm expecting our electric bills to be consistently under $100. And we just seen a price hike in our electricity too. Literally just happened 2 months ago. Otherwise, these would have been even less. So think about that. The majority of the year, I'm probably gonna be under $100 a month. And then there's gonna be a few extremely hot months where I'm gonna stay a little over $100. That's an amazing feat right there. And I'm doing all this with a 2-ton AC, keeping the house extremely comfortable. So I just got back home. Here's typically the way we work things. I typically turn the house up to 78 during the day, although I work from home, so a lot of times it's lower than that. At night, we'll come in, bump it down to 75. Some of y'all may be thinking that's hot. I don't know how to explain with this house controlling the humidity and the way that it works. 75 actually gets us quite cold, especially with a large fan running. Now, because we've dual zoned our AC, which means we have another thermostat in the bedroom, electronic dampers upstairs, here's the way that you can really save some money. At night, we'll turn the house back up to 78. No point in cooling off a house that you're not in. We'll turn the bedroom down into the high 60s. We sleep with the bedroom on the 60s all night long, which does cycle the unit off and on, but it controls just the bedroom. That's the beauty of spending the extra money that we did zoning out our HVAC system. So we sleep nice and chilly in there all night. The house stays a comfortable high 70s temperature. Again, no point cooling off a house we're not in. Then we get up in the morning, if it's gonna be the day that we're here, we just turn this back down. It literally cools off in 20, 30 minutes, you're down to temperature, and it's comfortable all day long. The other thing I should mention, I framed this entire house out with 2x6 exterior walls. Interior walls are 2x4, but doesn't really matter for what we're talking about today. So I have a full 5.5-inch fill in the roof and in the walls of spray foam insulation, because that's the width of a 2x6. So I'm getting really good insulation, but the person that came and sprayed our insulation in told me that you don't really see much R value gain after about 3 to 3.5 inches, which is what your typical 2x4 is. But it only cost me a few $100 more to go ahead and fulfill the walls, have them scrape it, and get maximum insulation in this house. I told them, please, by all means, go for it. So at this point, yes, money well spent. As far as I'm concerned, this insulation is now paying me back for life every single month with a significant savings. Yes, in just a few years, I realistically think that our insulation is going to pay for itself completely in energy savings. Not to mention, instead of us putting probably what would have been a 4-ton AC unit in this house, now for life, all we have to do is put 2-ton AC units in. Really, This thing cools the house so well, we could go even smaller if anybody even makes a 1.5 ton, but we're probably always going to stick with a 2 ton. So there was a significant savings there. But yes, we spent that money in more insulation and zoning out our AC, putting a whole house dehumidifier. But again, if this is going to be your lifetime home or a home you're going to stay in for a long period of time, it's no doubt in my mind, it's blatantly obvious that your dehumidifier upgrades and your spray foam insulation upgrades will eventually pay you back. Absolutely will. All right, so I've rambled on enough. So just want to let y'all know, all the people that's interested in this house build, we've had a lot of people watch us. By the way, there's almost 200 videos on the channel going into the nuts and bolts of our HVAC system spray foam. I showed everything and recorded the entire process, but I'm letting y'all know I'm about to do a full final cost breakdown on what it cost us to build this house. I think some of you are going to be shocked. We splurged and went overboard on things like the HVAC and the insulation, but we saved tons of money building this ourselves and in other areas, but I don't really feel like we really cut quality anywhere. Actually, we overbuilt the heck out of this house, and I'm very pleased with it. So as soon as I get done building our outdoor kitchen here in the next couple of weeks, I'm gonna spend days and days going through every single receipt for the entire house build, go through line items, cost breakdown, and present y'all with a breakdown, because I know a lot of people are looking for, what the heck does it cost to build a home? What do I carry to the bank? How do I come up with these figures if I'm gonna build a house myself? So I'm gonna share all of that with you. That is coming. If you like videos like this, please consider subscribing. Ton more content coming, including that loft build out. We're gonna custom build our stairs and build out my office up there as well. Thank y'all so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this. Again, y'all been asking for it. I know y'all were as curious as I was on the cost. I'm very, very pleased with it. Catch you on the next video.